Everybody, welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. My name is Chris, the owner of Fourth Shift Firefighter, and also Beyond the Headlines host here on Firefighter Nation. Today, we're talking to Brent Thorne. His article, his headline was Presence Over Pride, a Hard Lesson in Balance. And on this show, what we're going to do is talk to people who have contributed articles to Firefighter Nation and get the story behind the story. Kind of go a little bit deeper, find out why this was even a thing, what frustrations, what epiphanies, what thoughts led to writing an article. And this is what I'm especially excited to get into because this falls right in line with Fourth Shift Firefighter. A premise of my company is building a life outside the fire department and having stuff to go home to that fulfills you and makes you, in turn, a better firefighter. We can't just be solely focused on the job. That's not good for anybody. It's not good for athletes. It's not good for our population. We can do better, right? So we're going to do better at home, which will make us better on the job. Now, Brent, I'm going to read your bio real quick, and then we're going to jump right into it, babe, and get some background information and get going. Brent Thorne has been in the fire service for 13 years, currently serving as the truck company engineer, SICK position, at the Coppell, Texas Fire Department. He has taught fire, technical rescue, and EMS at Collin College in McKinney, Texas for almost a decade, and has had the opportunity to play a key role in leadership and education through conferences and other training. Above all else, Brent serves God first, his wife, and 2 sons. Brent, welcome to the show, dude. How are you?
Man, I'm great. I appreciate this opportunity. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, we're dressed pretty starkly different. Brent looks comfortable in a t-shirt outside right now, and I'm wearing a sweatshirt inside, which is always an indicator that I'm in the Midwest and Brent is down in Texas in the nice weather. I'm glad you're comfortable because I'm freezing inside right now. I got to go start a fire in the fireplace after this. But give us a little background on you, man. One thing that you didn't mention in here, and you can go as deep or not as you want into, is that you got a little bit of a late start in the fire service because you served our country. And when you came back from that, you jumped into the fire service. So give us just a 2-minute background and we'll get in on the article.
Oh, yeah, man. So after high school, I graduated in 2005. After high school, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life and decided I wanted to be a military police. I wanted to be in the military, but I also wanted to be a police officer, some kind of public service. The fire service has always been a passion of mine, but I didn't want to do EMS and I wasn't really good at science. So that scared me. So, when everybody told me I had to be EMT, I kind of strayed away from it, said, no, I just want to fight fires. But, went into the Navy, enlisted in 2006, got to my first duty station, ended up going to Whidbey Island, Washington, served a few years there, came back home to Fort Worth where I was assigned at Joint Reserve Base in Fort Worth, did an individual augmentee deployment overseas to Afghanistan as personal security for high-ranking visitors and distinguished visitors. Did a little over a year there, boots on ground, came back, and immediately started my pursuit for fire service. I tried the police route a little bit, figured out that wasn't for me. I wanted to get back to where my roots were, and did fire EMT and paramedic at the Collin College. I loved it so much and the atmosphere that the instructors created for us. So after I was in the service long enough, I was able to apply to be able to instruct up there. You know, just giving back what the guys gave to me. I started my career with the Rowlett Fire Department back in 2014. And then I left there in 2018, went to Coppell, and I've been there ever since. And it's been incredible. It's a huge journey for me. So.
Wait, you say it Coppell? Is that how you say it?
Yes, Coppell.
And I'm putting the wrong twang in the wrong part. Coppell is how we would say it up here in the Great Lakes region. Well, I'm glad to hear that you had your head screwed on straight when you got out of the service in terms of the fact that you didn't want to be a cop and you chose the right line to go testing. So that's already a key attribute that you're a well-rounded, smart individual. What was how did you convince yourself to go to medic school then and become a medic, or do you not have to in Coppell? So
you have to be a paramedic to get hired, or you have to be in paramedic school close to being finished. In order for my mindset to shift, when I was overseas, our unit's combat medic that I was assigned to, we were assigned to a joint task force, and our unit's medic said, "Hey man, I'm leaving in 6 weeks. I need to teach you everything because you're not getting another medic." So I took casualty combat care. I took all kinds of trauma everything like that. So we did a 6-week crash course on horrible trauma situations, everything. Did route recons with him. We went and did any kind of medevac with him. So anytime we got the opportunity, I jumped out there and we worked together. So that's what really got me into EMS and realized it's not as hard as what I'm making it.
It's also interesting, right? Like the fire side is interesting and it's a different kind of interesting and different kind of work, but the medic side is just endless. Like there's endless amount of information and critical thinking you can do, especially with like differential diagnosis drills and just kind of working through stuff. I think that's going to fall back on one thing that is going to be a through line for this thing is your ability. I'm going to call it ability because I have it too in some cases to hyper-fixate on things. And I see paramedicine as something that you can absolutely get into rabbit holes in and enjoy and kind of go for. It also kind of bit us in the butt sometimes. And that's kind of what your article was based on, was how as you got out of the service into the fire service and you started diving in just head first, like eating that whale one bite at a time, caused some problems because you got a whole nother life out there aside from the fire service that you had to start balancing. So let's go into that a little bit and we'll get into your article about, being more present at home, presence over pride, a hard lesson in balance is your article. So let's get into that a little bit. So where do you want to kick off?
Oh man, we can start wherever. We can start with, let's just get it started with the first time I experienced, biting off more than what I could chew in areas that I wasn't supposed to. When I was at my first duty station in 2007 at Washington, my current wife and I were actually dating back then. We were dating back in high school. Well, I was so involved and just like obsessed with being better at my job and building those relationships there. So I never took the time to actually have a conversation with her to tend to her needs. We were 2 hours behind Texas time. So that West Coast time difference was huge. She's trying to go to bed and I'm trying to hang out with boys and trying to build those camaraderie and relationships. And it bled over. We ended up breaking up for a little bit. And then when I was in Afghanistan, I finally figured out how to make time. So instead of finding time.
That's a strange place to figure out when you're totally immersed in it. That's a weird time to figure out you need to be away from it a little bit. Right. How did that, that doesn't make sense to people who weren't in that environment and locked into that environment for extended periods of time. Why was it then that you were like, oh, I got to have time away from this, even though you're supposed to be just eating it every day?
So it was really hard because everything over there can kill you. I had so many different roles in my organization, in my task force, that I was always busy. I was always doing something and it kept my mind busy. So working out twice a day, eating right, doing everything, trying to stay, but I could never find that thing that made me truly happy. Whenever I would talk to my wife now, Mandy, so whenever we would talk on the phone, I would always feel like just a sense of home. I would feel like I had a purpose or a reason why I'm doing this and not just doing this to do it. And I started losing that track along the way that Afghanistan wasn't the end all be all, that I had something else bigger out there for me. And she kept bringing me back around. Well, I realized how hard it was for me to really, truly separate everything. One day, whenever I'm in the middle of a route recon and we're going through looking to do quick reaction force drills and everything. And all I wanted to do was pick up the phone and just say, hey, and I'm like, all right, I need to figure out how to create time to focus on her. So I would wake up earlier. I'd go to bed late and I'd catch her before she'd go to work or catch her after she'd get off work. And I figured out that there should be a balance, but it was hard to.
Yeah. So you guys work on that through Afghanistan, you come back and she's probably thinking like, finally, like this guy's home, we're going to be, now there's nothing in the way. And you're like, well, kinda, I'm going to pick a job that takes me away for at least one day. Do you guys work a 24/48 or what's your schedule down there?
It was 24/48. I've worked at 24 until January this year. January this year, Compel went to a 48.96.
Oh man, that's a whole different conversation. It sounds terrible, but sounds awesome from everybody who does it. But we'll get into that different episode. So yeah, you get home and she's like, cool, my guy's home now. And you're like, well, I'm home every 2 out of 3 days. I'll be home, but I'll see you later for 24 hours after that.
Okay.
How far into the fire service life did some of those problems start come back up again, where she's like, hey man, you're supposed to be home now. Like you're stateside, you're supposed to be here, but you're still leaving me and you're still not home when you're home. How long did it take to realign those hyper-fixation things on the fire service that were there in the military service?
So I was hyper fixated from the get go. During fire school, I was constantly in the books. I was constantly watching videos, trying to get better at my craft. Paramedic school sucked. I'm not going to lie. Anybody who's ever been through paramedic school, if you didn't want to absolutely eat your book every single day and just throw it in the trash, if you weren't trying to quit every day, then you weren't doing something right. Like you got a different kind of brain. I don't know, man, but I was so frustrated all the time, but it bled into my home life. And I had a kid. I came home from Afghanistan to a 9-month-old, and I was dad ever since. And man, whenever I got out of that, got into my first job, and just I felt that draw of everything to the fire service, and just wanted to be better and wanted to produce and wanted to show my worth and that I can contribute to my organization and my crew. And then they kept giving me things because they were like, hey, he's good at this, let's give him something else.
Yeah,
and
man.
you know, if you're good at your job, guess what you get? Other people's jobs, right? That they don't want to do.
Yeah.
So I just kept biting. And then finally one day it snapped, and my wife looked at me and said, I want a divorce. And man, it was one of the most heartbreaking, because we had been through some counseling, we've been through some marriage counseling and some other things, and it was one of the hardest realizations that I've ever had, is her coming to me and said, I'm going to go talk to a lawyer. So, and I realized right then that I need to shut down, because I was working on my physical health. I was in the circuit looking to compete, but man, as soon as that happened, everything shut down, and I shut down. I reclused from my department. I reclused from my guys. I locked myself in a room and went through so many bouts of depression, and everything from Afghanistan started coming through the surface. My mom dying when I was in paramedic school came through the surface. Just everything, just one after another. So I had to get mental health.
Yeah. Were you, not to pose an unfair question, when she brought that to light that she was going to go talk to a lawyer, or this was what she was, the mind state she was in right now, were you surprised, or were you like, I knew I was crossing the line a little bit, but I didn't know it was that bad? Where were you in your brain when she brought that up?
I honestly thought that everything was fine. We had gone through several little problems here and there. I thought that arguing and disagreeing on different roles and circumstances was like normal marriage behavior. My parents divorced when I was 10, so I didn't really know a healthy marriage. So whenever she and I would get into little bouts and little spats and arguments or whatever, I thought that they were just normal. And then whenever she brought that to me, just like most guys out there, I thought, whoa, this is out of nowhere. Yeah. So I didn't expect it. And then we started talking. I started talking to other guys. When we started getting with our marriage counselor, it really came to light, like, hey, this has been building forever, and you're the one pouring gasoline on this fire.
One thing you said when we were talking before is the way she communicated it wasn't necessarily like, I hate you or this is terrible. It was that you're not meeting my expectations. Yes. And that's a wild thing to hear, because that's something you would expect to hear from the job, right? Like, you're not meeting the standard, not meeting expectations. Here's what I want. Here's what you're not delivering. I want to applaud her in that communication, because that's truly a different way of looking at it and a different way of thinking about it that I don't think a lot of us would understand. We figure the standards, the limits of what's acceptable, breaking SOPs, breaking the rules, having this over here is a work thing. And at home, it's just all emotions and we're all good thing. We'll figure it out. But to not meet someone's expectations that you're involved with on an emotional level is a totally different animal. And so do you think that was especially effective in getting through to you? Or do you think that if she had gone through and just said, I hate you and things are different, you might not have had the same reaction? Does that kind of make sense? Like, did her approach to it make the difference as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. the way that she was able to convey her expectations or her modes or the reason why she feels a certain way is the reason why I am the way I am today and my thought process today. If she would have came to me, like you said, just, I hate you or I can't stand you, I'd have been gone. Like there would have been no question in my mind, and I would have felt completely justified in it and had no quarrel.
Yeah. And you also attributed that to, you kind of glazed over it quickly and said you had done some counseling and some management, but before we talked, you said there was a healthy amount of it there that led you to be able to have that crucial conversation when the time hit. Maybe your day-to-day stuff was breaking down a little bit and it wasn't quite clear, but when the critical point hit, you were able to communicate effectively and then kind of move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in 2017, when we started going through some problems, we ended up going to counseling quite often. And we did a marriage counselor who specializes in first responders as well as service members and PTSD and post-traumatic stress and traumatic incidences. Well, I didn't know that was her specialty. And when we were sitting there talking, that's when everything started coming to light. And when we started doing one-on-one conversations, that's when we really dove into PTS and everything else, all the injuries and trauma. And we did our own sessions together. We did our own sessions individually and then sessions together. So we've had consistent counseling from 2017 until about 2022. And then like we'll do just every now and then we'll do touch-ups, but we also did a class with our church called Re-Engage. And if you are a married couple for one day or 10 years or 50 years, that class, if you can get your hands on it, if you can get into there, man, it's one of the absolute best. It will bring so many things to light and make you hate yourself, but make you love your partner and your relationship even better.
That's great, man. I'm bringing that stuff up because it just to show the unfortunate amount of work you have to do in the front end to make it successful in the back end. Like I'm guilty of it too, of just letting it ride and we'll figure it out if we need to. And like, if it gets that bad, we'll talk about it. But that doesn't afford you the best chance of success later if something bad does happen. So I think a lot of us just figure like, dude, I figure stuff out at work all the time. That's like worst case scenario. I'll figure out my worst case scenario too. Well, that's a 20-minute experience over there, maybe an hour and a half at most. And you've been living this for 15 plus years. There's a lot more that goes along with our stuff at home. So we need to start giving the home stuff more attention, right? One of your sections in the article is called identity versus investment. So I'd like you to break that down because I think that's kind of the root of where we start to blur the line and get in trouble, where we start to lose ourselves a little bit and the people around us start to lose us a little bit. And then that leads down the path of 5-10 years from now, a real issue. So if you could go into the identity versus investment portion, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and I took nozzle forward twice and I kind of didn't really pay attention to it the first time he said it, but Aaron Fields, from Seattle Fire Department, he talked about, being present at home and being with your family. And he's like, my wife and kids, matter more than this job. And then he mentioned that you don't ever see plumbers with a pipe wrench on their, pipe wrench tattooed on their body. And I was like, that's the craziest thing. Why would you use that as a reference? But then I look around and I see, the fire helmet, the 343, you see a Halligan and an axe. And I'm like, okay, like I'm seeing more of that. But that's always been like the tradition in the fire service, the brotherhood. We're here for us. We're here for them. But when I started introducing myself to people, it was always, hi, I'm Brent. And then someone say, hey, what do you do, Brent? Like, okay, I'm a firefighter. Well, it was always, I'm a firefighter. Hey, I'm Brent. I'm a firefighter. No matter what, I'm a firefighter. This is the first thing I said out of my mouth. When I realized that my wife is standing right next to me, so I'm a firefighter. Oh, and this is my wife, Mandy.
Yeah. See? That's a painfully not obvious, but obvious one, right? Yeah.
And I don't know if she ever picked up on that or if she ever felt that, but I started catching myself do things like that because I became more aware. I became more aware of my surroundings and like what I'm saying, that your words have meaning, your tone has meaning. And when I would introduce myself, I started moving towards, hi, I'm Brent. This is my wife, Mandy. And we have 2 kids, blah, blah, blah. I would talk about my personal life, my family, before I would talk about work. But,
Yeah.
you obviously get like with the mustache, and typically these shirts are the only things that I own. So when
Yeah.
people see me out in public, they're like, "Hey, where are you, a firefighter?" Like, all right, I got it.
Right. Right. Yeah, man, it's a difficult one. I remember one of the first couple of people I heard with a mentality like that were former service members, and they kind of been through um, various forms of service and combat and stuff. So they had a broader perspective of like, this fire department thing is just another job. Like, I did my big job then. I've seen kind of the mountaintop of leadership and of involvement, and I did that, and I ate it up every day, and I was ingrained in it. And now I can see what this fire department thing is. Like, I can see that it's a job that you have to invest in, and that's important, but it's still an occupation. And I've had occupations before, so I'm good with this. And they would kind of come in with like, the attitude of when I would get upset about something, or guys would be kind of lamenting something, or like, I can't believe they're doing this, or this change is happening, or the chief is saying this. They'd be like, yeah, but he's still going to send you your check every 2 weeks, right? And at the time I was like, man, I kind of hate that. Like, yeah, it is, but aren't we supposed to be more invested in that? And it wasn't until a decade later that I started to understand, like, that doesn't just mean like this place sucks and I don't care about it at all. That means like, let's reframe this. Like, let's reframe this as something that we're doing, and we're humans doing this thing, instead of like, this is going to wreck my life because the chief sent out a memo I don't like. And so they had a broader perspective that I just didn't have. And it's taken a long time to get that perspective. And now when somebody says something like that, like, yeah, they're still going to pay you next week, right? I'm like, okay, maybe I'm overreacting to this a little bit, or maybe this deserves a little wider scope than just being so laser focused on that thing. Like I said, like hyper-fixating, like you said. So when you started identifying that, you took a hard line though. Like, you were not like, okay, I'll start balancing and I'll come home and I'll be home and I'll go to work and I'll be at work. You were like, I'm just cutting this limb off right now. And for 6 months you were isolated. So take me through that kind of that extreme pendulum swing, and then how you found the middle again to where you're happy today.
Well, before we went to 4896, we had to sell our chief, city manager, all that other stuff on him. And one thing that was really cool was one of the guys had to oppose me. I was super for 4896, and he had to come in and say, all right, here's the negative side. Well, we talked about drive in the job and being here and being present more in the job. And he said, you look at Mark Van Oppen's rule or tip for types of firefighters, different categories. And he said, number one gets paid the exact same as number four. He's like, if I'm the top performer, the elite, the top 10%, if I'm the go-getter, the one that gets everything done, I'm still getting paid the exact same as the one that does the bare minimum and probably less. So why do I care? And that rolled into like, man, I don't ever want to be that bottom end guy. I don't ever want to be the person that people are like, oh man, I don't want to go work with Thorne. I don't want to be there with that guy. Like, that guy's a piece of crap. And what are we doing here? But yeah, so we were talking about the number one firefighter, and I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the person that everybody came to. Well, when my wife saw that and saw how much that meant to me to be that person, not just, I don't want to be the one that knows everything. I want other people to be there. Yeah. When she saw that, and she saw my drive for that, but she saw the lack of me carrying that much at home and doing everything, so she called me out on it. Well, I got mad. I was like, okay, this is an insult to me. This isn't really who I am. I'm better than this. So it was honestly a knee-jerk reaction. That 6-month hiatus from everything was like, you know what? Screw it. And it's threw my hands up and it's like, I'm just gonna take 6 months off. Like, okay, I'm gonna see if I can focus. I'm gonna prove that I can be. Well, it ended up being the best thing for me. Me being pissed off and just like, you know what? Fine. I'll just do it then. Whatever. But I was sincere about it. I was going to do it because I was determined to make it happen. And I cut all conferences out. My captain, he asked me to help him train on a couple different things. We had a great opportunity with a commercial structure that they were tearing down that we could go cut roofs on. So I helped with that. I helped with residential roofs. I helped with one other thing, but this was like very, very few and like far between. I think I taught at the college maybe 3 times during the 6 months, and it was hard. because I felt like I wasn't there for the guys that hired me for my second job. And I felt like I wasn't there for the guys at the department. I didn't pick up overtime, but I
Yeah.
felt like I pushed so much aside and I wasn't doing my obligation at work, but I was meeting everything here. I was paying more attention here. And man, just cutting it off, like, sick limb, just cut that thing off, just like you said. It was probably the most eye opening experience other than her telling me she wants a divorce. That was something that really just clarified everything. And balance. Man, I wish I could figure out who said this and remember who said this, but you, you can never truly, create a balance. But it's better to be centered than it is to try to create a balance. So being centered at home, I became more centered at home, more centered with my family, more intentional. And it's your intent. If you don't have that intent to be present, then you'll just never be present. You'll always be focusing on something else while you're there. So,
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point. I remember talking to someone else we interviewed a while ago about this who had a stint away from work. When you came back and basically re-entered after 6 months, and you saw that calls were still being responded to, training still happened, inspections still happened. Everything's kept on spinning. It sounds like you were able to conceptualize that as like, cool, that gives me permission now to be a smarter person. Or did you have a little bit of you that was like insulted that this world kept spinning without you and you were so involved before? And there's a thought of like, if I don't show up, nobody's going to do it. And if I don't do it, it's not going to get done right. But now it was fine for 6 months and you got back in. Was there a little bit of annoyance there that it kept on working without you? Or was it just a nice eye-opening moment of like, okay, this kept working. I liked it. So we're just going to keep doing that.
it was very eye opening. I loved it. At first I was like, hey, wait, y'all don't need me? Like, all right, cool. I guess I'll go over here in the corner and do something else. But
Yeah.
Man, it's that trust. I've been reading a lot of leadership books. I'm in class to finish my bachelor's degree in organizational leadership, and everything is aligning with that, being able to trust your people. And even though I'm not in a supervisory role, I'm able to trust my guys that things are getting done. And yeah, some things that I would do aren't getting done, but that's not what needs to be done. It's just my preference. And just because it's not done my way or what I would do, it doesn't matter. So, but it was very cool. Yeah. Oh man, it was so cool seeing everybody just thriving and just happy. I had to adjust coming back into it with them, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's not a personal slight at all. I'm sure there were some guys that were happy to have the opportunities that you were kind of taking over before, right? And they're not happy that you're not there, but they're happy that you're out of the way for a couple months and maybe I can try this, and that just makes everybody better. So I'm very appreciative of your ego to be able to let them do that and succeed in it and not take it as a personal slight that they're taking your spot or because they're doing it, you can't anymore or that. Cause I think that's a pretty common thought. Like if I let this thing go, if I let go of this grip, someone else is going to grab it. I'll never be as valuable as I am right now. So you had some good times. It was all going fine. Everybody was happy. And then you're like, I think I'm going to screw this up again and try to get promoted. So you had to have a conversation, I'm sure, with your wife at that point of like, good news, bad news. I got ambition. And the next 6 months are going to be kind of a mess with studying and diving back in. So how did that negotiation go? Or how did that conversation go where you brought that back up again?
Oh, man. So the first promotion test I took was for driver engineering, and I got promoted on the first time. Thank God I did. But that was, oh man, we knew that was coming for almost a year. So I was able to like study just a little bit here and there. The second time was, I think he announced his retirement in September, and then we announced the test in February. Like the test, was scheduled for February. So I didn't have very much time, but also on top of that, you got all of the holidays. So while the holidays are going on, the kids are out of school, I'm focused, I'm in the books, I'm trying to do everything. I was also at that time, I wasn't on my hiatus. I had scheduled to attend 2 conferences, away to where they were overnight conferences. I had, I was scheduled to do a week-long Louisville Fire Conference in Texas, and is just help out there like I've done the last 2 years. And all these things compiled on one another. So I was so focused on the fire side, I just said, "Hey, family, you're going to have to wait." And that conversation went well as kind of like, "Hey, I'm letting you know that this is probably going to happen. I'm probably going to divulge into this, or kind of immerse myself into this. But there's an end date. This end date will happen." Yeah. And right before that end date happened, it was so much, because I was stopping my study time to go do fire stuff, to go hang out with boys or go to conferences. She's like, "I thought you were studying for promotion that we agreed on." I'm like, "Yeah, I did. But like, this training opportunity came up and I can't miss this because it's going to help me with my experience. It's going to do all this stuff." I didn't prioritize family first.
Yeah. So you got through the test, and I'm sure, like you said, there was kind of some hiccups in the road and bumps like that. You got through the test. Do you then take another 6 months off? Like, are you on a cycle now of like, all right, I'm closing that box for a while and I'm back to being centered at home for 6 months because I need to reset? Or is it kind of like, where do you go from there, right? Where do you go from there? Because you may have to test again. If you get promoted, it's going to be a whole nother ball of wax. Like, how do you make this sustainable now is what we need to get to.
It's a reset, and you got to do a hard reset. And if things aren't going well, you have to shut everything down and say, "What am I doing wrong?" And you have to evaluate. It's being on scene at an EMS call. If an EMS call or on a fire, on any kind of incident, if you just stop and you just say, "All right, everybody, pause, give me a second." That second in a critical moment is okay. Mm-hmm. Minutes in a critical moment can mean life or death. But taking time in your marriage and taking time with your family, when you just say, "Hey, I got to shut down for a couple of weeks. Let me just relax. Let me get my mind right." That could mean the success of your marriage, the success of your family. That could mean being there for your spouse, just being present. It changes the whole entire game. So absolute resets, they work. I don't know how else to put it to anybody else.
Yeah. I think it's called a tactical pause, right? When you stop everything for a hot second and do it. I think a lot of us just don't even consider that, because we just imagine in our minds that like that family's going to be there. And so we don't need to reset. We'll just keep chipping away at it or not. And we'll have a tough month, but we'll be there in 2 months. And over time that, I don't want to say taking it for granted necessarily, but that stability that you're supposed to have does not feed us into any better habits. And like I said, I'm guilty of that too. I'm pretending like I'm interviewing you, like I got answers and stuff, and I don't. But that's just my role, fortunately. So where do we go? Like, what's some things that, because for some guys, they might just not be ready for a hard reset or a tactical pause, right? Maybe it's not that bad, or maybe just they don't think it's that bad. Maybe they're just getting into a relationship. Maybe they have done a good job of setting boundaries at work, and stuff's just stressful time to time. So what can we do to kind of lay some tracks for 5-10 years from now, 6 months from now, even when it does get a little bit much and we do have someone looking at us like, "What are you doing?" Or you do go to a kid's game and don't know any other kids on their team because you haven't been there for anything besides the championship. Like, what can we do to keep ourselves on the right path so damage control is lesser in the future? Because there's going to be some damage, but how can we keep it to a minimum?
My biggest words of advice are have conversations. It is so difficult to have an actual conversation with somebody that is supposed to support you and that you're supposed to support. Like, having those difficult conversations with people that you love and care about and can cause pain to, those are the worst. But the ones that we're at the fire station, we're like, "Hey, you suck at pulling hose," or "You suck at throwing ladders." I'll have that all day long, right? We'll call people out on their BS every single day, every second. But when we get home, having that conversation with your spouse that like, "Hey, where am I failing you? Where do you feel like I'm not meeting your needs or your expectations?" Knowing their love languages. And as cheesy as it may sound, love languages matter, and they change all the time. So you got to reevaluate that. But if I know that I'm not serving you, then I know how to change, or I know that I need to change. And then eating your pride and just saying, "Hey, I need help. Like, I don't know what I'm doing because I don't have the answers. Like, I'm going through this every single day. It's just like raising a kid. you're a brand new parent to whatever stage that kid's in. You're not an expert in that kid. I got a 16-year-old who there are days I want to punch in the face, but there are a lot of days where I'm just like, hey man, what do you need? Like, what can I do for you? And it's great, but it hasn't always been like that. But my marriage is every single day. I've always got to figure out, like, what am I doing that I could do better? Or how can I do something more of what I'm not already doing? And those conversations are hard to have, but man, they mean the world. And as long as you have follow through, you can just talk all day long, but without follow through, it's just going through one ear and out the other. And they're just like, all right, whatever. I'll say it again. I'll say it for the 7th time.
Yeah.
I got a backyard project that still needs to be done, but I just lack of motivation. And I get bad at it. So there's a time where I'm just going to have to be like, get it.
So that was actually meant to be more of a wrap up question, but you brought up a good point of like, how have you dealt with it then when you're swamped at work and you just don't want to have those conversations? Like, I don't want one more thing to do at home now. I have tasks at work I'm not completing because I'm swamped. I don't want to come home and create more work for myself. Where's the mental switch, or where do you find motivation to have those talks, even though you know it's going to result in more work at the base level of it, right? It's not going to be, you're not going to get a free pass out of that. You're going to come out with some stuff to do, but I'm tired of doing stuff. So how do you convince yourself that it's worth having those talks still?
You look at what's going to happen if you don't. If you don't have those conversations, if you don't meet their expectations and their needs, then they're going to find somebody who will, or they're going to figure out, hey, I can live my life without this person in it. Like, I don't need you in my life. And it was almost to that point when my wife told me she wanted a divorce years ago, is that she realized that she was a single mom, but married to a firefighter. Like, I would show up every now and then, but those conversations led to me knowing that I wasn't meeting what she wanted or what she needed. And it's not even about like just being selfish. It's just the simple things, and all those small, simple things added up to just a huge explosion that I never saw coming, but it was right in front.
Yeah.
So finding the motivation, you'll never find the motivation or the time to do anything like that. You got to make it. And being motivated is just an excuse. You need to be dedicated to it.
Just man.
Like working out.
Oh, dude, don't even, man. I see with that mustache and those big shoulders. I know you're just slinging insults around now. Dude, this has been awesome.
Man, these are just popcorn muscles.
Yeah, right. All show, right? This is awesome, dude. Thank you so much. We went into some heavy stuff, man, some personal stuff. And but it's real stuff. Like, this goes beyond just like, oh, you need to, I know you put in your article, schedule date night. That's an easy one. It's just like saying, like, eat your vegetables. Like, okay, I get it. But coming from someone who's walked it and is still walking it and is figuring it out along with us, I think goes a long way. And we were saying before, I think this is a extremely valuable thing for old guys, of course, because worst habits ever, but for the new guys especially, to kind of give them permission that, hey, you should have a life outside the fire department. We harp on you your first year, and we tell you work-life balance is a myth your first year, and it's partially true because you got a lot going on, but let's get back to who we are as people so we can be better responders and happy all around. And I think that's something that will resonate more with the younger generation than just telling them how much they owe or how this place doesn't need you, you're replaceable, all that stuff. I want to invest more in our people so they're happier with us than just tell them how much they owe us. So I appreciate your message, man. If people want to read more, I know you got at least 2 articles on Firefighter Nation, but if people want to reach out to you and say, hey, or look at the trainings you're doing, or hook up with you down there in Texas because you're doing a training they can attend, where's some good places to find you or where people can look you up?
I actually don't have an Instagram. That was part of my problem, is that I would get so deep into social media, and I would go down some very dark holes. But I have a Facebook. It's Brent Thorne. So just look me up on there. You can find me in pretty much any kind of firefighter training, nerd stuff. Usually I'm just kind of like a little random poke here and there about some things. The 4896 debates, the fire jobs in Texas. But I'm I've got my profile set to private. Shoot me a message or shoot me a friend request. I get there. The people can always reach out to me if they want to. I'll go ahead and shout out my email. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'll give you my cell phone, 214-679-7148. Man, I'm open for questions. I'm one of those guys that if you have something, shoot me a text and I'll answer whatever I can. I love it. And I'll respond to a text message better than I will an email. And I know how to put the phone down. So
that's great, man. I appreciate your willingness and your openness and your ability to share and be present with us. And like you said, put the phone down and be present at home, central at home. So I appreciate it, dude. That's awesome, man. That's all I got for you. I'm going to have you on again. If you got some guys that want to talk about 4896s, dude, I'm down with that because that is a wild concept to my brain. I don't understand it. I saw some guys are going to 2472s now. That makes more sense to me, but I don't know. So let's not talk about that now. There's only so much free recording we got here on this thing. No, I'm just joking, man. All right, dude. Well, thank you. I'll be texting you soon, talking to you soon. And I appreciate your time, man.
Chris, awesome. Thanks, man, for this opportunity. I appreciate you and keep it up.